Well, I think the media in general needs to be more responsible about how they present drinking in movies and on television shows. It's often shown to be very heavy drinking, shown to be something that's funny. It's humorous. And I think what we seldom see are the negative effects of alcohol intoxication. It's not only associated with fatalities from car crashes and other accidents, homicides and suicides, but there are many other non-fatal but serious effects from drinking. Large doses of alcohol are bad for the developing brain. We also know that you're subject to risks like sexual assault, date rape that can occur under intoxication. And many individuals can suffer from the effects of other people's heavy drinking. This has been shown in some of the college drinking studies. For those students who don't drink, they still are affected by students who drink heavily. Vomit in the hallways, or being unsafe, getting assaulted when they're walking from their dorm room. So alcohol intoxication is really not very funny. It tends to be a very serious medical and social risk. Parents need to be aware of any negative changes that occur in their adolescent children. So a decline in school performance, dropping out of extracurricular activities or sports, a change in friends from a group that seemed to be very well socialized to a group of outsiders or kids who just don't seem to be in the mainstream. And parents have to look for very subtle signs, because in general, once parents become aware that there's a problem, there's a huge problem. If parents think there might be a problem, there almost certainly is a problem, and it's probably more than they imagine. Teenagers spend a lot of time covering up their use of alcohol and other activities because they don't want their parents to know. So parents need to be very vigilant. They also need to talk with their teenagers on a regular basis about the dangers of heavy drinking and the use of drugs. Having one conversation is not enough. They need to have regular conversations. They should seek some medical help. They can start with their pediatrician or their family doctor, and they should be very open about what their concerns are. Ask the child's regular doctor to have a confidential conversation with them, to do a screening for the use of alcohol and other drugs, but they need to seek outside assistance. Feeling that they can handle it themselves within the family often doesn't work. Alcohol use is really seen across the spectrum. It's seen in poor families and in wealthy families. It's seen across all races and ethnicities. There tends to be a myth that alcohol and other drug abuse is higher among children who grew up in poor urban families and among racial minorities. And if anything, the opposite tends to be true, that we tend to see the problem more in middle class and upper middle class white families who live in the suburbs. If parents are responsible drinkers themselves, there's no harm in allowing their teenage children to have a sip of alcohol or even one drink at a family event or an appropriate social occasion like a wedding or a glass of wine with dinner. This may, in fact, teach children about drinking responsibly. But if parents don't drink, they shouldn't start drinking just because they think that that's going to help their children. But they need to model responsible behavior themselves. That's the most important thing. Parents cannot drink irresponsibly. They can't be getting drunk and then tell their children that they shouldn't be drinking alcohol. They really have to model appropriate behavior. there may be some effect of that. The baby boomers tended to be more likely to use and abuse alcohol and also marijuana, and so they may be coming into parenting with more permissive attitudes overall. But alcohol use seems to be remarkably stable across the decades. There are small rises and declines, but overall it remains the #1 substance abuse problem among America's teenagers. If you provide alcohol to minor children, you're breaking the law. You could be sued if there's an accident or an injury that results from someone's child being intoxicated at your home, and you also can be prosecuted criminally under the social host law in Massachusetts.